You don't graduate into this. You survive it. No ceremony, no handshake, no moment where someone tells you that you've made it. You wake up strapped to a medicine slab with your body still knitting itself back together from a last surgery, and the apothecary standing over you says, "Get up, you're needed." So you get up. You were taken young. 8, maybe 10 years old, depending on the chapter. Old enough to have developed what they were looking for: aggression, resilience, spatial awareness, an almost irrational refusal to stop when the rational choice would be to quit. The scouts who found you weren't impressed by your size or your strength. You didn't have either. What you had was something harder to measure, a quality in how you moved, how you processed threat, how your body responded under stress before your mind caught up to what was happening. They tested hundreds of candidates for every one selected. Not written examinations. Survival exercises calibrated to produce failure. Children who froze were dismissed. Children who panicked were dismissed. Children who made the statistically optimal choice every time were also, interestingly, dismissed, because an Astartes who only does the expected thing is a liability in a universe that specializes in the unexpected. They wanted someone who, when every reasonable option was exhausted, reached for an unreasonable one and made it work. You made it work. The trip to the chapter monastery was the last time you saw your home world. You were too exhausted and too focused on what came next to feel much about that at the time. The grief found you later, in quiet moments between training sessions, surfacing briefly before discipline pushed it back down. After enough years, it stopped surfacing at all. You don't know whether that represents growth or loss. The senior Astartes you've asked about it just look at you with an expression that suggests the question itself reveals how young you still are. The implantation process is not one surgery. It is a sequence of procedures spread across years, each contingent on the success of the last, each carrying a probability of death that nobody quotes to you directly, but that you can calculate yourself from the attrition rate among your fellow initiates. The omophagia, the biscopia, the os modula, the Becher's gland. One by one, new organs are introduced into your body, and your body is given time to accept them or reject them. Rejection means death. Acceptance means the next one. Your skeleton is reinforcing itself with minerals, your enhanced biology processes from food. You can feel it sometimes, a deep structural ache that radiates outward from your bones. Not painful exactly, more like pressure from the inside out, like your body is being expanded from within by something patient and relentless. Your reaction time is accelerating past anything natural selection could have produced in 1,000,000 years of human evolution. The omophagia means you can eat almost anything and extract nutrition from it. The neuroglottis means you can taste biochemical information in the air. A guard's stress response at 30 meters, the specific chemical signature of a type of munitions, the trace compounds left by a recently moved body. Hunger is different now. You eat what needs eating when it's available, and your body files it away with a metabolic efficiency that has nothing to do with preference. The black carapace isn't implanted yet. That comes later if you survive long enough to be considered for full Astartes status. For now, you are something in between, no longer human, not yet fully Astartes. A scout, the most demanding apprenticeship in the known galaxy, assigned to the most lethal training environment available: actual combat. Think of it as an internship. The performance review is whether you're breathing at the end. Your armor is not power armor. Not yet. You wear carapace plating, lighter, quieter, designed for concealment rather than the overwhelming frontal aggression a fully armored space marine represents. The plating covers your vital areas without encasing you entirely, which means you are faster, harder to detect, and considerably less bulletproof than your fully initiated counterparts. This is deliberate. Your job is not to absorb punishment. Your job is to avoid it entirely while gathering information that allows others to deliver it precisely. Your primary weapon is a sniper rifle. The stalker pattern bolt gun, when a mission calls for it, its bolt rounds subsonic, designed to fire without the distinctive crack that gives away a position. You learn to value it not for what it destroys, but for what it doesn't announce. A shot that nobody hears is worth 3 that everyone does. You carry a combat knife. This is not ceremonial. You have used it in situations where the rifle became impractical and the distance between survival and its opposite was measured in centimeters. The knife is silent, leaves no heat signature, never runs dry. Some of the senior scouts have a relationship with their knives that borders on philosophy. You are beginning to understand that. Chameleoline cloaking material is worked into your fatigues, breaking up your outline and shifting color passively with your surroundings. You are not invisible. Nothing is invisible to a sufficiently attentive observer. What you are is difficult to spot, difficult to track, difficult to eliminate before you have done what you came to do. His name is not important. What matters is that he has been where you are now and survived it in a way that transformed him into something the chapter trusts to transform you. He is not kind. Kindness in this context would be negligence. A scout sergeant who softened training to reduce discomfort would be manufacturing casualties rather than preventing them. He communicates primarily through example. When he moves through terrain, there is no wasted motion, no rustled branch that doesn't need to move, no footfall that lands with more weight than the minimum required. Watching him operate is like watching someone who has made a private arrangement with every surface he might walk on. He covers ground quickly, and he covers it silently, and those two things should contradict each other, but in him they don't. When you make mistakes, he addresses them exactly once with the specific information required to prevent repetition. He does not repeat himself. He assumes you retain what you were told, and if you don't, the consequences in the field are more instructive than any lecture he could give. You are afraid of him in the early months. Not physically, though the physical dimension is real enough, but in a more specific way. You are afraid of his assessment. A look of approval from him feels like a structural confirmation. A look of disappointment feels like the ground shifting under a load-bearing wall. By the second year, the fear transmutes into something that functions more like fierce competitive drive. You want to close the gap between what you are and what he represents. You're not there yet, but the gap is measurable now in a way it wasn't before, and measurable gaps can be worked. They don't tell you it's real until you're already in position. The briefing is framed as an advanced training exercise. You notice the scout sergeant's manner is slightly different in the pre-mission preparation, a compression in how he moves, an additional equipment check he doesn't usually do in training runs, something in the set of his jaw that doesn't match simulated stakes. The structure is a hive district on a world 3 warp transits from your training monastery. Heretic forces control the upper levels of a manufactum complex and are using it as a command node. Someone needs to go up there, determine the exact disposition of forces, identify the command infrastructure, and come back out with that information intact. Nobody fires unless fired upon. The climb takes 4 hours. You move through maintenance shafts across external faces of the structure using mag-adhesion equipment, through spaces that were not designed for human passage and that your enhanced body barely fits through while fully kit. The smell inside is particular, old machine oil and something biological, the specific chemical gradient of a large group under sustained stress. You count. You mark positions. You document equipment and sight lines and command relationships inferred from movement patterns. Your enhanced senses are doing work that would require a team of conventional intelligence operatives compressed into one scout moving silently through shadows 60 meters above the killing floor. Then a door opens that wasn't supposed to open. The heretic who steps through it is looking directly at your position when the door swings wide and the light from behind him catches the slight reflective shimmer of your chameleoline at exactly the wrong angle. For a full second, he stares at you. You stare back. His hand moves toward the Vox unit on his belt. Your combat knife is already moving. You don't remember the specific decision. There is no decision. Precisely, there is an assessment of the situation, an identification of the only available response that preserves mission integrity in your extraction window, and then the execution of that response. The heretic does not reach his Vox unit. You hold completely still for the next 40 seconds while sounds from the corridor beyond the door resolve into footsteps that pass and continue moving away. You finish the documentation. You extract. The scout sergeant debriefs you on the extraction route with the same economy of words he uses for everything else, and at the end says, without particular emphasis as a simple observation, that your knife work was acceptable. Coming from him, that is a significant statement. You file it away and say nothing. The intelligence you gathered allows the Imperial garrison to strike the command node with precision. The insurrection begins collapsing within 48 hours. You won't be told this directly. You'll piece it together from the peripheral detail of subsequent briefings. It doesn't feel the way you expected something like that to feel. It feels quiet, specific, a thing you did that mattered in a way you won't be able to fully trace. Full Astartes are surgical instruments. They hit hard, they move fast, they dominate every direct engagement they enter. They are designed for the moment when the situation has been fully defined, and what's required is the application of overwhelming controlled force. Before that moment, someone has to define the situation. Someone has to go forward into uncertainty and come back with enough information to make the instrument precise rather than indiscriminate. That someone is you. Every major Astartes operation has a shadow operation running ahead of it, a scout element working days or weeks in advance of the main force, threading through territory that isn't controlled yet, sometimes through territory that is firmly controlled by the enemy, gathering the information that will determine whether the main assault succeeds or bleeds itself dry on fortified positions that didn't need to be fortified if someone had simply looked first. The victories that get remembered, the lightning strikes, the perfectly timed breaches, the assaults that collapse enemy defense before it can organize, all of them have scout work underneath them like an invisible foundation. You don't resent the invisibility. You came to understand it properly around your third mission. An attack that works is elegant. An attack that works because someone prepared the ground in advance, and nobody knows it is somehow more so. The information you gathered becomes the shape of someone else's success, and you were the one who carved it. There is something deeply satisfying about that, which is hard to articulate without sounding like you're compensating for something. You're not compensating for anything. It simply functions as its own reward in a way that's difficult to explain to people who haven't done it. The missions are the easy part to describe. Long stretches of nothing are harder to put into words, but they take up more of the actual time. Concealment positions held for 16, 20, 30 hours at a stretch. Lying in debris, in mud, in the structural cavity of a partially demolished wall, while your enhanced metabolism ticks over in low-consumption mode and your mind runs through observation cycles with the mechanical consistency of a well-maintained instrument. Your senses bring you everything. The faint grinding of tracked vehicles 2 kilometers north. The shift in wind direction carrying smoke from a destroyed settlement, its chemical complexity cataloged automatically by your neuroglottis. Insects moving through debris inches from your face, their patterns disrupted by the vibration of distant artillery. The exact moment a sentry's attention drifts, something in the posture, the frequency of small movements, the way the head orients away from its assigned sector, a window that opens and closes in under 3 minutes. You hold, you observe, you record, you do not move. There are moments in the long holds where something that isn't quite thought and isn't quite feeling moves through you. No doubt, not fear in the conventional sense. More like a very clear-eyed assessment of the specific reality of what you are and where you are and what hangs on whether you remain undetected for the next several hours. The weight of it is not crushing. It is clarifying. Everything that is not immediately relevant drops away, and what remains is precise and functional and entirely focused. Demos was the first one from your intake group to die. A demolition charge detonated 12 seconds ahead of schedule during a structural breach on a Xenos-held Prometheum facility. His death was quick, which is about the most you can say for it. The scout sergeant noted the loss without ceremony and redistributed the mission responsibilities. There was no pause. The mission didn't allow a pause. You processed Demos' death over the following 3 days while holding a concealment position in the facility's ventilation network. You had sufficient time, and nothing else required active mental engagement. You worked through it methodically, the practical details of what his absence changed about your team's capability profile, the personal dimension of losing him, which was significant and real and deserved acknowledgement, the way his particular dark sideways humor had functioned as a pressure valve during long holds, and the way the team adjusted around his absence with the specific kind of silence that fills the exact shape of a missing person. You don't expect to come through your full service without more losses. The mathematics of the role don't support that expectation. What you carry forward from demos is the precision he brought to breaching operations, committed to your own developing skill set, so that something of his contribution to the chapter persists past the physical end of him. This is not a ritual. It is simply the most useful thing you could think to do with the grief. Full Astartes status. Power armor. A place in a tactical, assault, or devastator squad as a battle brother of the chapter. The transition is not guaranteed. Some scouts serve extended terms, 5, 8, 10 years, before the chapter considers them ready for the next stage. Some are never considered ready and serve their entire careers in the scout company, which is not a diminishment but a specialization. Decades of accumulated knowledge about concealment, reconnaissance, and infiltration that a fully armored space marine cannot replicate. But you are looking at the full path. Not out of ambition precisely, it is more structural than that, more like looking at the next stage of a process that has its own internal logic. Each surgery, each mission, each long hold in debris has been building toward something. The black carapace, when it comes, will allow the power armor's neural interface to integrate directly with your nervous system. You will feel the armor as an extension of your body. The additional physical capacity will compound everything your current implants have already produced. Right now, you are lying in a concealment position on the outskirts of a contested settlement, watching a patrol pattern, counting heads, measuring intervals, filing every observation into the structured mental format your training has made automatic. The scout sergeant is 40 meters to your left in a position you cannot see and cannot detect, even knowing exactly where it is. That gap is still instructive. The patrol makes its fifth circuit. You note the minute variation from the fourth circuit's timing. You note the slight asymmetry in the formation that suggests one member is favoring an injury on the left side. You note the precise location of the two positions from which both northern approaches can be covered simultaneously. You note all of this silently, completely, without moving any part of your body that doesn't need to move. The night is long. The mission is exact. The darkness is full of information, and you are reading every word of it. You are the advance of the advance, the question that makes the answer possible. When the chapter strikes, it will strike with precision because you were here first in the dark watching. Nobody will know your name for this particular thing. That is fine. The patrol moves. You track it. Get up. You're needed. You already know.